States, Canada, and Tokyo, Japan. This is the Rich Stevens Radio Network.
All right, here we go. Welcome to a Wednesday morning. How are you? I am Rich Stevens. I want you to sit down for a second. You might be sitting down already and realize that there are 56 days until Christmas. 56 days. That means it's 29 days until Thanksgiving, 4 days until the daylight saving time ends, and there's one day. Tomorrow is Halloween. So just want to make sure you're prepared. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate it. Listen, everyone praised that classified hero dog for taking down the ISIS leader, Baghdadi. Everyone except MSNBC. They quickly searched through the dog's internet history and college yearbooks, apparently. And sure enough, MSNBC found a picture of the hero dog partying at obedience school. Now, in the picture they found, the dog is seen sniffing a butt without consent. I'm quoting here. "Oh yeah, good old redacted. He was nuts," said one German Shepherd who attended Old Yeller Obedience School with the hero dog. Now, according to an MSNBC report, quote, "He was always sniffing anybody he could find. Cats, dogs, humans, you name it. He didn't have a preference." And other troubling reports have shown up from classmates indicating that the dog sniffed all these butts without consent. The dog wrote cryptic things in his college yearbook, apparently referring to different butt-sniffing maneuvers like the surprise snifferoonie and the canine's triangle. I'm not sure what that is. But the dog issued a statement. And I'm quoting the hero dog now. He said, "I like butts. I've always liked butts. I still like butts, but I never sniff butts to the point of excess. Who's a good boy now? I am." And by the way, the left has already asked for a complete investigation, and they also called for the dog to be court-martialed and for the death of Baghdadi to be overturned because of this new information. Sorry, I couldn't resist. I mean, the left is so out of control. And, you know, every day there seems to be something else. And the big story, of course, yesterday was this Army Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman. And he's the top Ukraine expert on the National Security Council. And apparently he told members of Congress yesterday that, and hear this very clearly, okay? Because this to me is just, I mean, it's typical. But I don't understand how this is okay. He tried to edit a White House log of that July call between President Trump and Ukraine's president to include details that were omitted, according to Vindman. And one lawmaker who was present at the testimony, otherwise known as a Democratic leaker, gave this story to NBC News. Now, Vindman testified in that closed-door deposition right before the House impeachment investigators that attempted edits were to reflect Trump mentioning possible recordings of former Vice President Joe Biden discussing corruption in Ukraine, and the Ukrainian President Zelensky mentioning Burisma, that's the company who hired Biden's son Hunter. Now, the July 25th phone call between our president and Ukraine's president is at the center of the impeachment inquiry being conducted in the House of Representatives behind closed doors. And critics are saying that the pressure on the Ukrainians amounted to President Trump abusing his power for political gain in the 2020 presidential election. But tell me this, Batman, how is it okay that this very well decorated lieutenant colonel goes before Congress, admits that he tried to edit a White House log, and that somehow is okay? I mean, how is this even possible? If this had been somebody on the other side, on the right side, and they were before Congress and said, you know, I tried, and we don't know how he said it exactly, but this is according to a Democratic source that gave it to NBC News. Oh, okay. Apparently, he admitted that he tried to edit this White House log. Now, it seems to me like that would be some kind of felony. It's definitely illegal. It doesn't make sense. I mean, what was he going to do? Was he going to use some whiteout? I don't even know if they have whiteout anymore. Whiteout to white out the, the words and then write in new words? How is this okay? I would love for someone to explain that to me, because I got to tell you, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever how these, and of course it's the double standard again. Had this been somebody on the Republican side, they probably would have been handcuffed in the chamber and escorted out and taken to jail or court-martialed or something. I don't know what the proper procedure is with something like this. But again, this lieutenant colonel tried to edit a White House log. Now, if a doctor did that, that is a punishable crime. If somebody tries to change medical records, you can't do that. There's a reason they have these logs, whether it be in the White House or in a hospital or something. I remember, I think it was 2-3 years ago, there was a nurse at a hospital. I think this was in Atlanta, if I'm not sure. I think it was in Atlanta. Yeah, that's what I just said. But I'm not sure. And she attempted to change the records of her husband, who was in a hospital for something minor, making it into something major so they can get more money from the insurance company. So she attempted to edit a medical record in a hospital. She was caught. She went to jail. So this is the White House, the people's house, a phone call with the president. And the other thing that bothers me, especially with this guy, that all of a sudden he came through. And it was funny to watch the news last night, how everybody's reporting, oh, this is the only guy that so far is testifying that has firsthand knowledge, because he was indeed, in fact, on the call. My God. Why did you wait so long to come forward? Why wasn't this something where you were one of the first people to come forward? Why did it take this so-called whistleblower, who I still can't get over that this whistleblower is nowhere to be found? They're done. They're not even going to call the whistleblower. And Thursday, of course, tomorrow, is the vote on whether to proceed or not. And we know how that's going to go. Such a waste of time, such a waste of taxpayer dollars. And again, while this is going on, there's no real business going on at all. It's mind-blowing to me. And the same thing is, there's people who are just, and I'm sure, I can't wait, because I'm going to tell you this story right now, and I can't wait till somebody blames President Trump for this, because President Trump blames, everybody blames President Trump on the left for anything and everything. Doesn't have anything to do with the president, but somehow they will maneuver away MSNBC, CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS, the so-called mainstream media, the New York Times, the Washington Post, yada, yada, yada. They will find a way to blame the president. So there was this lady in Kentucky, and you can't make this stuff up, and I'm sorry for laughing, but it happened at a Kentucky Fried Chicken in Kentucky. And she was at the drive-thru because she went inside to place the order, and she looked in the bag, and she didn't get a fork, and she didn't get any napkins with her order. So she takes out a gun and fires it into the drive-thru window. Who does this? Then she drives off, and so far they have not caught her, but they're looking for her because she needs to be arrested. Now, the KFC is closed. Police are looking into the shooting. Thank God nobody was hurt. They, of course, have footage at the drive-thru, so they have a picture of the woman or video, but so far nobody's been able to identify this woman. I'll keep you updated, of course. And you know when a story starts like this, a Florida man, you know it's going to be one of these stories that, can only happen in Florida. So this one guy sees another guy wearing a Make America Great Again hat in a, I guess it was a club or a bar. And the guy who got spit on was with two friends, and this guy approaches them. And the spitter says, quote, "You should go back to Russia, you effing communist." And then he hit the bill of the man's hat, and he spit on him. So then he leaves the bar, but was found a little bit later because the victim wrote down his license plate number and called the cops. Now, after he got arrested, the man told the police he was excited to go to jail because he supports law enforcement while Trump supports our communist and racist friends. What the hell what is the matter with people? He was charged with battery, by the way. It's just, it's seriously, we have gotten to a point that, it's almost like the Wild Wild West. People do anything and everything they want to do, and they're not getting away with it. But some of the things that are being done are just, oh my God, unbelievable. There's this girl in Dallas. I don't know if you saw this story last night on the news too. I was fascinated by this. This is like something I would do. And I hope I never have to do it. But she was having brain surgery, and she was awake during the brain surgery, and they did a Facebook Live while she was getting the brain surgery. Now, the doctors that were training needed brain surgery to, they said that she needed brain surgery to remove this, there was something with the blood vessels, and there was a mass in a part of her brain. This happened in Dallas, and they asked, the medical professionals at the hospital asked if she'd be willing to have the surgery streamed on Facebook Live, and she would be awake. And she said yes. She thought, and this is good, she thought it would be a good teaching moment. Thank God the surgery was a success. They found the mass that was in there. They reconnected some things, and she's doing well. Now, before you say, oh my God, they didn't show the part where they were inside the brain. I'm sorry to be graphic here. The top of her skull, when they do brain surgery, they remove the top of the skull so they can access the brain. That's behind, they have a sheet up. So we didn't see that on Facebook Live. I was watching some of this yesterday, and I just, oh my God, it was weird to see. But she was talking, and pretty normally. Now, sometime the way they were able to locate, and this is the fascinating part, they were showing her an iPad with different pictures and different words, and she was talking and full sentences while her head is open, and these 2-3 surgeons behind her are fiddling around with the blood vessels in the brain. I got to tell you, when I had my stroke, and it was a very rare stroke on the back of my head on the right side, where you have a big, I guess it's like a pipe or something, for lack of better medical terms that I don't know. There's 2 of them. On the left side is a small one, and the big one is on the right side. It was the big one on the right side that was totally blocked. And after they told me that I had a stroke and I was in ICU and they had all these different doctors coming in, this doctor comes in and he says, "Hello, nice to meet you. I'm the guy that how did he say it exactly? He said, I'm the guy that you don't want to meet." And I said, "Why is that?" He says, "Because I forgot what his exact title was, but he was a brain surgeon." And I didn't catch on to it right away. It took a little bit for me to catch on that he was telling me, in a worst case scenario, if we're not able to dissolve this clot even a little bit, then he's got to go into my brain and manually unblock this. And the reason that he's the least possible person I'd want to see is because this is a life-threatening operation. This is not like the girl's operation. This is a complete blockage in my brain, which is very different than what she had with a mass in her brain. So I'll never forget that moment. It was. I was in tears. I just couldn't believe it. And he kept trying to calm me down. I said, "Calm me down." He just said, "You might have to go in and unblock this thing." He says, "Well, we want to be prepared in case, God forbid, we have to get to this point." And thank God I never had to get to that point. The heparin that they were pumping into me eventually started to get my blood level down to a normal or a therapeutic level. And it took, I think, 6 or 7 months before most of it went away and went back to normal, which was just a miracle in itself. But back to this girl with this brain surgery. So she was reading these full sentences, identifying pictures on the iPad perfectly, as if nothing was going on. Again, her head is open. The scalp is removed from her head. and they're inside the brain. And then they're doing this because they will touch certain parts of the brain and then have her read one of these sentences or have a conversation or identify a picture. And all of a sudden, she starts to garble her words and say stuff that didn't make sense. That's how these surgeons were able to determine that they had hit the part of the brain that was that mass in there, and that's what needed to come out. The good news is the surgery was a complete success, and she is doing well, and they say she's going to have a full recovery, and it'll be like nothing ever happened. I mean, that's just unbelievable. But this is the world we're in today. On a much brighter note, if you're a Lexapro user, there's a new thing that can reduce your risk of depression without taking a drug like Lexapro. The researchers, they did a study on 15,000 adults. They took part in this National Health and Nutrition Survey, and they found that every one of these people who ate regular chocolate regularly didn't have any changes. But those who ate dark chocolate had significantly lower odds of depressive symptoms. So basically, if you eat dark chocolate, it could reduce the risk of depression. Now, here's the thing. Like everything else in the world today where, marketing with these buzzwords and everything, just because a chocolate bar says dark chocolate doesn't mean that that's the dark chocolate that you want to eat. The dark chocolate that they're talking about actually costs more than a Hershey bar. And not for nothing. The Hershey's dark chocolate, that's not what they're talking about. It's real chocolate where it's a totally different story, which has like something like 97% of the chocolate bean, which makes it the dark chocolate. I think that's how you find out the differences. But the other difference is you're talking like a buck or something, $1.50. I don't know. I haven't bought a chocolate bar in years, but whatever it is, the real chocolate is going to be like $3 or $4, and that's how real dark chocolate. That's how you know the difference because of the cost. So there you go. And also those, I can't think of the brand that I always see in Publix, or CVS, but it's something like 97% dark chocolate. Those are the ones that you want to get. And the reason it's 97%, I'm told, is because if it went to 100%, that 3% bit right there, the chocolate would be so bitter. And some people say the 97% is pretty bitter. So I'm guessing if you're going to eat chocolate, the dark chocolate, you can probably do anything over 70%, or 70% is a good marker. Or at least that's what I read from this story I was doing some research on earlier. There's a guy here in Florida that took a bag of drugs and he threw it out of his car. And the police asked him, what were you thinking? And his response was, the bag had chicken bones in it. This is while they were arresting him. So what happened is the cops followed him. He ran a red light. He refused to pull over. They were chasing him for a few miles. Eventually, the guy slowed down and he threw this bag of drugs out his window. So when he got pulled over, he said to the police, I didn't throw any drugs out the window. It was chicken bones. But police found that bag, which was full of pot. He finally did admit to the police that he smoked pot, but said the bag of drugs was not his. But they charged him anyway with fleeing and eluding officers with lights and sirens. I mean, these are the kind of stories that only happen in Florida. This kind of crap doesn't happen anywhere else. Remember the other day I was telling you about the Walmart $1 million bill thing? And from time to time we hear about these stories. I can't believe I got another one for you so quickly after that last story. And this is just, again, use your brain. Don't be stupid. Although I know there's some people, maybe foreigners, I don't know. I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but I'm just saying, if somebody's not from this country and they see one of these bills, maybe they think it's real. I don't know. But a guy tried to open a savings account at a bank with one of these $1 million fake bills. There is no such thing as a $1 million bill. The highest bill, as a matter of fact, of U.S. currency is a $100,000 bill. And I've actually held a $100,000 bill in my hand, which was just an incredible experience. I remember when I was a kid, and we had the World Book Encyclopedia, and there was one page on the M book under money, and it had pictures of all the different bills that were, made by the United States Mint. I always thought that page, and even though it was in black and white, it wasn't in color. Do you remember the World Book? Some people had Britannica. We had the World Book. It was fascinating. And I just loved looking at that. And I think that's how I learned so much about money, was from the World Book Encyclopedia. Anyway, the $100,000 bill with Woodrow Wilson, if I'm not mistaken, on it, the reason I was able to hold it is because there's a place in New York, and I can't remember if it was a museum or the Federal Reserve, where when I worked for the radio station and TV station in New York, I had media credentials, and they actually, showed us a behind-the-scenes thing, and they actually let us hold one of these. But here's the thing with the $100,000 bill. Let's say tomorrow or today, you happen to go to Publix, and you find in front of the counter a $100,000 bill. Don't jump up and down, because you can't do a damn thing with it. The $100,000 bill is only used, or it used to be, I don't know if it still is, between federal banks. So if you actually found one, it would not even be worth the paper that it's printed on, believe it or not. That was one of the interesting stats that the guy told me when I was holding this thing. So if people are thinking that there's $1 million bills, you got to be insane to do this. So anyway, the teller didn't take the guy's money, and he told him it was fake. The teller told the guy that the bill was fake, and the guy kept saying, no, it's real, it's real. So finally, after going back and forth for about 4 minutes, the guy walks out of the bank with the bill. They haven't arrested him yet because they haven't caught him yet. They have no idea who he is, but they've seen him on the security camera, so they know, or they actually, they kind of know who it is, but they don't know who he is, if that makes sense. I mean, they have an image of the guy in video, but they don't know who he is. So, again, don't try to do anything with the fake $1 million bills. And I realize that some of these, I've seen some that look very real and very convincing. Hell, there's one with Donald Trump on it that looks like a real bill, and it could possibly be real, but it's not. It's fake. All right, Alabama had some interesting news yesterday. The complete abortion ban was set to go into effect on the 15th of November. Yesterday was blocked by a federal judge. The district judge, Thompson, ruled to block the law known as the Human Life Protection Act from going into effect, while the legal battle over it continues in court. Now, Alabama originally sued the ACLU of Alabama and Planned Parenthood and Southeast advocates over the law, who say it's unconstitutional because the law prohibits almost all abortions, including cases of incest and rape. Now, we know that abortion is a hot-button issue in Alabama, and not only in Alabama, but throughout the United States. But this here case, this could end up going to the Supreme Court. And the thing that's so, how should I put this? That's so, I can't think of the right term. The reason it makes this such a big, what's the word I'm looking for? Debatable conversation is because the people that support this law are now acknowledging that it was in fact designed to overturn Roe v. Wade. And that's why people are, so incensed over this. I mean, it's just, it's always something. It wouldn't be. I just don't understand how these federal judges can overturn things that are set into stone, and you think they're set in stone, but they're actually not. You know what I'm saying? There was another dramatic hearing in front of the Senate Commerce Committee today. They had executives from Boeing, and they admitted that the company made errors when they developed that ill-fated 737 MAX jet, which was taken out of service after almost 400 people were killed in 2 different crashes. So the CEO, Dennis Muhlenberg, is who was getting grilled today. And the plane first hit the market in 1967. And of course, since then, Boeing modified the design. It's got the plane to the market quicker than a new model. And the CEO said, on behalf of myself and the Boeing company, we're sorry. We were deeply sorry. We made mistakes and we got some things wrong. Right behind him were several dozen family members of the crash victims holding up these huge pictures of all their family members and loved ones that were killed in these plane crashes. Senator Roger Wicker said that, or he inferred, is there a coziness between Boeing personnel and the FAA regulators? Is that how they were able to do this? And by the way, yesterday was the first anniversary of the crash of that brand new Lion Air 737 MAX that crashed in Indonesia and killed almost 200 people on board. And right after that crash, Boeing put out a bulletin to pilots reminding them what they need to do if they were in a similar situation, and worked on a software fix while its planes remained in service the whole time. So that's just, again, this is just, wow. He's just gonna. People are calling for this guy to resign, and he should. The only problem is that this guy resigning won't do much because he's going to walk away with one of those golden parachutes. All right, speaking of golden parachutes, I keep telling you about these things that keep getting changed. They're taking down statues. They're changing songs around. You know the song Baby It's Cold Outside? John Legend and Kelly Clarkson have recorded a new version of that with the more proper lyrics rather than the remember it was last year radio stations were banning that song because it was like non-consensual behavior between the guy and the girl. This is how crazy we are today. So now there's a song. Remember the alphabet song? A, B, C. Remember that? So they changed the LMNOP part of the song. That's a big part of the song. They put it on Twitter, and now it's trending because it's just, I mean, this is an outrage right now. So there's a website called dreamenglish.com, and they basically put up educational songs for little kids. And they changed the alphabet song by slowing down the LMNOP part. This way they think it's easier for kids to learn. Now, this video that they posted is not new. It was originally online around 2012, but someone on Twitter just came across it, and now people are losing their minds. So if you're like me and you learned the classic version when you were younger, and we all did, I think, this is one of those things that's very scary. Take a listen.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z.
I mean, can you believe this? Now, you might have been singing along like I was, in my head anyway, and then you get to that part, and it's like, what the hell did they do? Now, the thing is, kids today are not going to realize it, but us adults, of course, we realize it. I'm going to leave you on that note because I had enough for today. Oh, I want to tell you, I got some great news for you, by the way. Just because you asked for more Rich Stevens, now you could get the Rich Stevens Show on your Amazon Echo device by simply saying, Alexa, enable the Rich Stevens Show skill. Alexa, wait, quiet, Alexa. Alexa, enable the Rich Stevens Show skill. And then she's going to ask you, Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. I think she's still trying to do something here. Anyway, so you say that, and then she'll come back to you and say that the Rich Stevens Show has mature content. Do you still want to continue? You say yes, and that's it. And then the next thing you do, you have your skill enabled. The next thing you do to hear the show is you simply say, Alexa, what's in the news? Let's see.
Here's your news from the Rich Stevens Show.
Broadcasting.
Alexa, stop. I don't know if you could hear that or not, but she did it right there. And then if you heard today's episode and you wanted to hear another episode, you just say, Alexa, next. and she'll, keep going through the other episodes that are there. I think it's great. I'm so excited to be on Alexa, and just another way for you to listen to the Rich Stevens Show. All the details, by the way, there's two ways to do it. You could do it online or on your phone to enable the skill, or you could do it just by saying what I said, which I think is the easiest way. Or you could go to richstevenshow.com, R-I-C-H, Stevens with a V, richstevenshow.com, and click on the Alexa button, and you get all the instructions right there. Okay, thanks so much for listening. Have a great Wednesday, and I hope to talk to you tomorrow, Thursday, Halloween.